Wednesday morning, 6:52. I was folding his laundry, his third load that week, when he walked past the door without slowing down, without looking up, and said, "Yo, did you cancel my Xbox Live? It's not working. It's Satur saying rare, Shetty. Set not good morning. Not my name. Not even eye contact. Just, did you cancel it?" I set the shirt down. My hands were still warm from the dryer. I walked to the window and looked out at the driveway. Both cars out there, both insured under my name. I picked up my phone, opened my notes app, and typed 4 words. Day 1, clock running. I didn't say a word to him. I just stopped. Before I go any further, you need to know who I am because this story only makes sense with that context. My name is Noel. I'm 33 years old. I have a master's degree in urban policy. I run a mid-size housing advocacy organization. I mentor young women in my city. I meal prep on Sundays, chair a community board, and somehow, I had also been quietly running an entire household for 2 people when only one of us was actually doing the running. Petty is not something I do. I don't have the time or the temperament for it. What I launched on that Wednesday morning was not revenge. It was documentation. My husband and I had been together 9 years, married for 6. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party. He was the kind of man who walked into a room and made it louder in the best possible way. Magnetic, attentive, the kind of man who remembered your coffee order without being asked. For 2 years before we got married, he made me feel like I was the most important thing in any space we shared. What I didn't understand then, what I was too in love to see, was that his effort had a condition attached to it. He gave when he was still trying to win. The moment he felt certain of me, the effort quietly packed up and left without announcing itself. First year of marriage, I noticed a utility bill I thought he was handling had gone unpaid for 2 months. He apologized, said things were tight. I covered it. By year 2, covering things wasn't even a conversation anymore. By year 4, I had a household budget spreadsheet I updated every single month that he had never once opened. My mother saw it before I did. She came to visit us the Thanksgiving of year 3 and pulled me into the kitchen while he sat on the couch watching football. She looked at me and kept her voice low. "Baby," she said, "you've been in here for an hour and a half. Does he ever cook?" I told her I liked cooking. She looked at me with an expression I couldn't fully read at the time, love and something heavier underneath it. "Our Noel," she said, "liking something and being the only one who does it are 2 very different things." I carried that for years before I understood what she was actually telling me. My mother passed 14 months ago. Stroke. Sudden. My husband was at a conference in Nashville and came home 2 days later. I handled the hospital paperwork, the arrangements, the cremation authorization. I paid for all of it, and I still added his name to the sympathy card I sent to her church. So when I typed those 4 words on that Wednesday morning, it was not impulsive. It was the end of a very long calculation. The rules were simple. My half of the mortgage, my name is the only one on the deed, and I'll come back to that, stayed. My own groceries when I was eating alone, my own gas, my own life. Everything else stopped. His streaming accounts, his gym membership I had been auto-paying since 2022, his phone plan, the household groceries I'd been buying without question for 6 years, the random subscriptions I'd absorbed into my budget because he never thought to ask whether they cost anything. All of it went quiet. I called my best friend Priya that afternoon from my car. Priya has known me since we were 19. She is the only person I will say the completely unedited version of myself to. She listened to the whole thing without stopping me. "So you just stopped everything," she said. "Everything that was mine to stop," I said. "I want to see who he is when I'm not holding the floor up." She was quiet for a second. "Well, what are you expecting to find, Noel?" I stared at the steering wheel. "The truth," I said, "about who I actually married." Day 3 told me something I couldn't unhear. I came home from work on a Friday with a headache I'd been ignoring since noon. He was already at the kitchen table, laptop open, jaw tight. I dropped my bag and opened the fridge. I had intentionally left it understocked. That was part of the observation. I started heating up rice from the night before. Then he said it. "The Hulu account got flagged. Did you update the billing info?" I kept my back to him. "I know," said Noel. His voice had something in it, not quite anger, something more specific, inconvenience. "Say, did you forget, or can you just go in real quick?" The show we watch drops tonight. The show we watch. Like this was a shared problem. Like his name wasn't also attached to a fully functioning bank account. Like, can you just go in real quick, was a sentence that made any kind of sense coming from a grown man. I turned around. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the laptop. I think your card is fine, I said, and I walked to the bedroom. Behind me, I heard him exhale hard. Not quite a curse, but close. That one sound told me more than 6 years had. By day 7, the shape of our marriage was becoming visible in a way it never had been before. It's a strange thing, what you see when you stop smoothing everything over. He moved through the house like a man who had always assumed certain things would be handled and was only now discovering that handled had a person attached to it. He ran out of his protein powder on day 6. I would normally have caught it on the grocery run and added it without mentioning it. This time I didn't. He stood in front of the cabinet, opened it, stared into it for a full 30 seconds, then closed it without saying a word. On day 8, his friend Malik came by. Malik is the kind of man who watches more than he talks. He'd been around for years, and I had always read his quietness around me as mild suspicion, like he'd made up his mind about me before we were ever properly introduced. I was wrong about what he'd decided. He walked into the kitchen, looked around, half-stocked, no snacks out, none of the invisible atmosphere of someone quietly running a household, and then looked at my husband. "You've been cooking?" he asked. My husband laughed in a way that had no confidence in it. Noel usually handles the kitchen stuff. Malik looked at me, something careful and specific in his eyes. "So, how you doing, Noel?" "Living," I said. "You want water?" "I'm good with what he bought." "One science." The room went still for half a second. My husband shifted his weight. Malik left about 20 minutes later, and on his way out, he passed me in the hallway and spoke quietly enough that only I could hear. "You deserve a full partner." I didn't know what he knew. I didn't ask, but I filed it away. That night, my husband was quieter than usual, subdued in a way I'd never seen before. I watched him from across the room and thought about what Priya had asked me on day 1. "What are you expecting to find?" I was finding more than I'd budgeted for. Day answer. Day 11. I was working from home. He thought I was on a call in the back office with the door closed. I wasn't. I was sitting at my desk in complete silence, reading a report, headphones around my neck, not on. I heard him in the kitchen. His voice dropped in that way voices do when a conversation becomes private. And then I heard a name I had never heard him use before. Jordan. "I told you this isn't a good time. Things have been off here. She's been different lately." "No, I can't. Not tonight." I said no. My chest did something I don't have clean words for. Not racing, more like a controlled demolition, like something very large coming down in a perfect, inevitable sequence. He laughed then, low and easy. "You're wild," he said. "Stop. That laugh." I knew that laugh. I used to be the person who got that laugh. I sat at my desk for 50 minutes after he hung up. I didn't move. I didn't cry. I just processed. Then I opened my notes app and typed day 11. There is a Jordan. The experiment does not stop. It expands. I called Priya. "I'm getting in my car," she said. "Don't," I told her. "Not yet. I have to think before I feel." She came anyway the next morning with an overnight bag and a full grocery haul she'd bought entirely herself. She put a sticky note on her orange juice that said, "Do not touch him, Priya." She is exactly that kind of friend. We sat on the back porch while he was at the gym, on his own card, which I noted, and I told her everything. The Jordan call, the finances, day 13. Day 3. My mother's words, all of it. Priya listened without interrupting, which is how I knew she was worried. Then she set down her cup. "Noel, I need to tell you something, and I need you to hear it before you react." She held my gaze. "Back in March, Keisha, you know her? She used to work at his company before she transferred. She mentioned something to me, said there was a woman in his department he was close with, more than close, the way she said it." Priya paused. "I didn't tell you because I didn't have proof and I didn't want to wreck your marriage on secondhand office gossip. I kept waiting for it to be nothing." March. That was 4 months ago. I stood up. Not out of anger at Priya. I understood why she'd waited, but I needed to be standing for what I was feeling. Because here is what hit me in that moment. For 4 months, while I was paying the mortgage alone and writing grant reports and buying birthday cards for his mother and grieving my own mother by myself, there was a Jordan. "What are you going to do?" Priya asked. I looked out at the driveway, at both cars. At the house. "Finish the 30 days, I said. "I need the whole picture before I move." She nodded slowly, and then I thought about something my mother had told me once, standing in her kitchen, not looking at me but meaning every word. Then I start over in something I actually own. Day 14, the halfway point. He had figured out something was different. Not what, but the pattern had shifted enough that he was starting to circle the edges of it. He cooked dinner that night, pasta, overcooked. I ate it without comment. "You've been somewhere else lately," he said. "Work has been heavy," I said. "San Noel." He set his fork down. "Is something wrong with us?" I looked at him across the table. This man I had spent 9 years building something with. I thought about Jordan, about March, about my mother, about day 3, and can you just go in real quick? "If something were wrong with me," I said carefully. "If I was struggling, what would you notice? What would change for you?" He frowned. "What kind of question is that?" "Just answer it." He thought about it. Actually thought. "I'd notice," he said. "I'd ask you." I nodded, took a bite of pasta. "Okay," I said. "See, that's it." I believed him. He would notice. He would ask, and then he would wait for me to solve it. That had always been the pattern. He was a man who identified problems and then waited for me to resolve them. I had just never seen it that clearly before. I typed 2 words into my notes under the table. Day 14, clarity. Day 17. I'm going to be honest about what I did because this story doesn't work if I'm not. I took the name Jordan, the company he worked for, and the pieces I had, and I gave them to a colleague I trust completely, someone with a particular talent for finding information discreetly. 2 days later, he sent me a LinkedIn profile. Jordan. 29 years old, account manager, Accounts Yerhauer, same company, different floor. She was beautiful. I'm going to say that plainly because the story requires honesty. Objectively beautiful, and something in her profile photo, this easy, open smile, hit me in a way I wasn't ready for because I recognized it, not her face. The expression. The ease of someone who hasn't yet been asked to manage everything while someone else takes up space. I didn't reach out to her. I want to be clear about that. She was not my enemy. She was a woman who may or may not have known the full truth of the situation. I gave her every benefit of the doubt I had. My problem was the man who came home to me every night. I sat in my parked car in a CVS parking lot for 25 minutes staring at her photo. Then I called my older brother Caden in Memphis. Caden is 7 years older than me. He doesn't talk much. When he does, it lands. I told him everything. He was quiet for a long time after I finished. Then he said, "Don't move until you're certain. And when you move, move all the way. No halfway steps." You hear me? Yes. I'm flying in on day 30. I hadn't asked him to come. He'd already decided. That's what it means to have a brother like Caden. Day 22. I had planned to finish all 30 days. He ended that plan himself. He came home with an energy I had never seen on him, nervous and aggressive at the same time. The specific combination of a person who suspects they've been found out but hasn't confirmed it yet. He sat across from me and said, "Who did you have looking into me?" I didn't move. "I don't know what you mean." "Someone from your office was asking around. People noticed. Wendy Churchim and Kasar Breaky." His voice was tight. He leaned forward. "Was Noel, what is this? What is happening?" I set down the book I'd been holding. "Who is Jordan?" The silence that followed was the loudest thing I had experienced in 9 years of marriage. His face ran through 5 expressions in 4 seconds. I watched denial form behind his eyes. I watched him calculate whether it had any chance of working. Then I watched it collapse. "It's not what—" "You don't." Just that word. He stopped. "I have been carrying this household for 9 years," I said. My voice stayed level. I was proud of that. Every bill, every payment, every card, every subscription, every car, every expense that came up, I handled it. I paused. "While you were building something with someone else." Noel, let me explain. I know you can explain. I'm sure you're very good at it. I stood up. But I don't need the explanation. I already know everything I need to know. I walked to the bedroom and locked the door. What he didn't know, what I hadn't told anyone except Caden, was what I had been doing in the background of the entire 30 days. 3 weeks before day 1, I had coffee with a woman named Sloan. Sloan is a family law attorney. She had also gone through a nonprofit program I run a few years back, which means she has no professional obligation to me. She gives me her time because she chooses to. We talked for almost 2 hours. I walked her through 9 years of financial history. Receipts I had kept, spreadsheets going back to year 1, bank records, the mortgage, solely in my name because his credit had a problem we were always going to fix that somehow never got fixed. Sloan listened to everything. Then she said, "You've been the documented primary financial contributor for the entire marriage. You have the paper trail." She paused. "You're not starting from nothing, Noel. You're starting from a position that most people in your situation never have." That conversation happened before day 1, before Jordan, before day 3. I had already known somewhere underneath all the hope that I might need a way out. I had just spent 9 years praying I wouldn't. On the morning of day 23, I texted Sloan 2 words, "Move forward." She replied in under a minute, already prepared. That afternoon, I opened a new account at a bank he had never heard me mention. I redirected my direct deposit. I called the mortgage servicer and began a formal sole ownership inquiry on a loan I had been paying for 5 years. He came home that evening to a woman who was cooking dinner and asking about his day. He didn't understand that the calm he was seeing was not peace. The calm was precision. Day 30. Caden walked through the front door at 10:45 in the morning. He looks like our father, broad, quiet, the kind of man whose stillness reads as authority without him trying. My husband had always been slightly uneasy around him. Standing there, watching them greet each other, I finally understood why. Caden has never once been fooled by a performance. He hugged me, held it for a second, then pulled back and looked at my face. "You look like yourself," he said. I hadn't known how badly I needed someone to say that. The 3 of us sat in the living room. I spoke first. "For 30 days, I stopped managing things that were yours to manage. I watched what happened when I did. I let that sit for a second. You noticed the streaming accounts before you noticed me." His jaw moved. "I found Jordan. I know the timeline. I know enough. Imi bersar italni iter rain." I paused. "I've been working with an attorney. The mortgage, the accounts, the 9 years of financial records, it's all been reviewed. We're moving forward, sour." Caden sat completely still beside me, not performing support, just present, solid. My husband looked between the 2 of us. Something moved across his face that I hadn't seen before. Not anger. Aroused sounds... Not denial. Something more, like a structure giving way. A man realizing that the foundation he thought was there had been load-bearing on one side for a very long time. "So that's it," he said. "That's it," I said. Not in anger, in clarity. He sat there for a long time. I watched him cycle through all of it. The guilt, the exposure, the wounded pride, before something finally settled into what looked, for the first time, like real shame. Not performed, real. He left that evening with 2 bags. I sat on the back porch with Caden until the sky went dark. For the first time in weeks, I breathed all the way down. "Proud of you," he said. "I'm proud of me too," I said quietly, and I meant every single syllable. It has been 87 days since day 30. The divorce is moving. Sloan is steady and sharp and worth every conversation. The financial records I kept, the ones he used to tease me about, calling me obsessive for saving receipts and logging everything, turned out to be the architecture of my own exit. The house is mine. The history is clear. Priya and I talk every day. She apologized 100 times for not telling me sooner, and I forgave her 100 times. Because real friendship is not flawless. It's honest. Eventually, that's enough. Malik reached out after he moved out. "I saw it for years," he said. "I kept hoping he'd figure himself out. I'm sorry he didn't." I thanked him, and I meant it. I don't know what happened with Jordan. I don't need to. What I know is this: the 30 days didn't break my marriage. They revealed it. And there is a difference between something breaking and something being seen clearly for the first time. A broken thing fails. A revealed thing was always exactly what it was. You just finally had the courage to look at it in full light. My mother told me once, standing in her kitchen with flour on her hands, not looking at me, but meaning every word she said, "Noel, you are too much woman to keep shrinking yourself for a man who refuses to grow." Mama, I hear you now. I am not bitter. Bitterness would mean I'm still spending energy on him, and I don't have a single calorie left for that. I'm free. I planted something new. This time I planted it in ground that belongs entirely to me. If this story hit you somewhere real, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more people find it. And if you want more stories like this one, about women who pay attention, who document, who move with precision instead of panic, subscribe. There are a lot more where this came from. I'll see you in the next one.